Welcome everyone. Right, I'm just going to pop on the screen, my screen, so hopefully you can all see it. Oh, done. Okay, good evening. So as always, make sure that you put in the chat, if you haven't already, your LinkedIn so that everyone can be connected. Okay. I am trying to get the chat open so I can see it. Okay, and hopefully you can all see my screen now. You just pop a 1 in the chat if you can see my screen. Okay, right, I'm going to start. I'm just going to make sure that I can pull up the chat. Bear with me 1 moment. I'm just going to stop sharing because I don't know where the chat function's gone. Let's have a look. Here we go. Okay. Right, so if everyone can pop in the chat where they're from. Oh no, it's here. It's not, it's me. So hi everyone. So I've seen a couple of you. So Mary, thank you. Tommy, Anna Duja as well. Thank you so much for posting where you are all from. That's amazing. It makes such a big difference to be connected with other people as well. And I'm just going to share my screen again. Hopefully it will let me look at the two. I don't think it will. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to have a full screen presenting. Bear with me. Hopefully it doesn't affect anything. Let's try this again. Let's try again. Okay. Right. So you can all see my screen. Okay, and I can see the chat. So just pop a 1 in the chat if you can see my screen. Okay, amazing. Thanks, Tommy. That's enough. All right. So welcome everyone. Good evening. This is an interview prep session specifically for Centrica, but to be fair, this is going to be beneficial for you just across the board when you're going in for these different interviews for the grad schemes that you've been applying for. And there were a couple of questions around how best to prepare for these interviews regarding competency-based interviews, strength-based interview questions, how to settle your nerves as well, how to show up, confidently as well. And we're going to cover all of those things. And I would also love this to be interactive, so you don't have to wait until the end of the session to ask a question. Please, as we're going through, if there's any questions that you have, just drop them in the chat and I will have a look at them as well. And also to remind you that today is the last day that you can apply for the Centrica grad scheme as well. So Demi, if you could pop in the chat that link. So anybody who hasn't sent off their application, today is the last day that you can do so. So Demi, if you could just pop that in the chat for everybody, that would be amazing so that they have that link.
I got you. I'll send it in.
Okay, amazing. So you can connect with me, assuming that you have 2 devices in front of you. You can scan the QR code on the screen. And what I'll do later on is I'll also pop in the chat how to connect with me on other platforms or directly working with me as well. So I'm a founder and career strategist of Confident Career Switch. My name is Alexandra Aileru, and I spend my time helping people navigate into the careers that they truly love. So I'm very grateful to have you all on this session today and know that you're going to get lots and lots of value. And I just want to start off with the quote at the top of the screen, which is: the offer doesn't go to the most qualified, it goes to the most prepared, the most visible and the most consistent candidate. And that's true from my experience working with various people. Qualifications are great, but if you make sure that you're prepared for your interview, if you make sure that you're visible to those people that are going to be interviewing you before the session, that's great. And obviously just continuing to be great and get better with your interview prep throughout your journey and the rest of your career. Okay. So welcome. In this session, what we're going to look at is reviewing what is working and any adjustments that you need to make within your interview technique. You are going to learn how to increase your interview rate by fixing certain key gaps in your application process and strengthen your interview technique and confidence. So that's what you should be expecting to do by the end of the session. And the objective is to eliminate overthinking and replace it with momentum building habits and prepare for interviews focusing on your competencies and aligning your achievements to become a standout candidate. Okay. So preparing for interviews, and like I said before, and if you've got any questions as we're going through, I'd love this to be as interactive as possible. So please do pop your questions in the chat as they come to you. When it comes to interview prep, practicing is what's going to be your best friend, okay? And in this day and age, it's absolutely great because you have your device, which is a phone. So you can record yourself on your phone using like voice memos, for example, if you have an iPhone. But the best way to record yourself is doing one of the following two things. Either record yourself on your camera, or you could set up a Zoom session, so Zoom or Teams or whatever it is, like any kind of video calling application, and record yourself that way, or watch yourself as you're actually reciting these questions and answering them so you can see what you look like in real time, okay? So practice these questions out loud. It's not enough to do it in your head. If you have somebody that you can practice these questions with, then do so, but make sure that you are recording yourself as well. Okay, so you know, just writing out answers is not going to be enough. It's just going to flow so much better. Okay, so prepare a confident tell me about yourself. With an interview, how you start the interview and how you finish the interview are pivotal. The middle, you can afford to mess up just a little bit, but if you start off strong and you end strong, that's what most hiring managers remember. And I can say that because I was a hiring manager as well. So you're going to have at least 6 to 8 different strong start examples. And if you were in my previous session where we went through the CV, and I'll probably pull this up on the screen, I told everyone, or I gave everyone access to what I call a career achievements workbook. And from those career achievements, that was what you were going to put on your CV. But you can also use your career achievements and build them out for competency-based interview questions as well. So it's a great way if you focus, if you're able to list out different achievements that you've done, you can plug them into different competencies. So what are some common competencies that people ask for? They ask for your ability to solve a problem. That is a very common competency. Your ability to be able to work with other team members. So your collaboration, that is a common competency. Something around risk, like how you assess something if there's an issue that comes up or something comes up, how do you manage and mitigate risks? Those are 3 very common competencies that come up all of the time. So making sure that you are prepared for those competencies and having an answer ready is going to be so beneficial for you. And I also want to remind you and let you know that when you're going for this interview, you can print out answers beforehand ready, okay? So if the interview is in person or if it's online, what I'm going to tell you to do, because you're allowed to do this, is make sure that you have your answers ready and then ask the interviewer, I know you know, throughout this interview, I know you're going to focus on competencies. Could you just tell me what the competency is as you ask me the question? So when they say, could you tell me about a time when you worked with a difficult member, a difficult team member, you could then say to them, you know, please, could you tell me what that competency is? And for them, they might be asking you around problem solving or how you collaborate with others. So now you're going to look at your answers that you've already pre-written and say, oh, I've got one for problem solving. Oh, I've got one for collaboration. Amazing. That's the one that you now, you know, that you tell them. Okay. So you start off your interview with some power in your pocket by saying, when you're going through the interview questions, can you tell me what the competencies are? And the reason why I would love for you to share with me what the competencies are is because I want to be able to give you the best answers. Okay, so you are allowed to do that, right? Okay, so prepare 3 questions to ask every single interviewer. These should be thoughtful and not generic. So typically when you get invited to an interview, you find out who is going to be interviewing you. So you should go onto LinkedIn and have a nosy round on this person's LinkedIn page and craft some answers based off of that, okay? So we want to ask them questions that really make them think. All right, so you can ask them questions based off of something that is targeted to them personally, right? So you can ask them about their career journey. So that's something personal to them. You can ask them something about what is going on in the market and how they're handling it. So for example, AI is all the buzz. That might be something that you want to ask them and how they're using it and how they're utilizing it, for example. Another key question that is great to ask and gives you a lot of good insight about them and what they're looking for is think about somebody on the team that you really admire. What is it about them that you admire? You know, yeah, and just get them to explain why. And that's going to tell you what they're looking for in terms of who they want to hire to be on their team. Okay, or the kind of ethos as well. All right. So always start preparing for your interview before you are invited. If you wait until you're invited, you are too late, okay? Because it might be a couple of days turnaround, all right? And this is just something to keep with you throughout the entirety of your career, okay? So yeah, if you yes, definitely. If you have any questions, make sure that you drop them in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So I did talk about researching your interviewers on LinkedIn. Make sure that you find out as much about them as possible so that you can find any commonalities that you have with them. So use LinkedIn to research them. Look for any mutual connections that you have, any shared experiences that you have, any interests that you have. Start to build rapport with them during the interview based off of this. And something else I'm going to tell you to do is obviously using Centrica as an example with the team or the area that you know that you're applying for. Go and start adding those people on LinkedIn now. If you know that you want to get this particular internship and land, you know, be within this grad scheme, go and start speaking to those people because they're going to know who you are even before you've already started. Okay, so go in there. You can ask, you know, it'd be great. I'm applying for a grad scheme with Centrica. I would love to have a coffee chat with you, or I'd love to know better about your experience. What's the worst they can tell you? No, or they don't respond back to you. Okay, but it's always great because now you're gonna get a little bit more insight as to what it's like actually working there from somebody who was already there. Okay. So always research your next interviewer and note any relevant points of connection that you could bring up. You can say, oh, do you know what? I already had a conversation with such and such in this department and such in this department. It's like, oh, you're building that credibility because you're known by additional other people than just the interviewer sitting across from you. Okay. Yes, yes, thank you so much for sharing that. So build on the relationships you have with the employees you met at the in-person event if you attended. So if you went to that in-person event, you should have already connected with people in person at Centrica. Follow up with them before the interview. Say, hey, do you know what? I've been invited for an interview. I'm really looking forward to it. And I would love to be able to work with Centrica. Is there any tips that you could give me? You know, any inside information, anything that you're working on that you'd love to share? You know, start a conversation, have a conversation with people. Okay, it's always going to be beneficial for you, right? Okay, so competency with likability, that's the blend that you want to have when it comes to how you show up in interviews. Hiring managers are looking for your skills, and they're also looking for your personality fit, because people don't want to work with somebody that they don't get on with. So you want to show, yes, if you hire me for this particular grad scheme, I'm going to do an amazing job. And also, you know, I'm an amazing person to be around. You know, so you want to convey the two of those, right? You want to be approachable, you want to smile and focus on building a personal connection. You want to keep your answers always clear and concise, and what's going to help you to keep them clear and concise is practicing beforehand. So making sure that you stay positive and always focus on the solution. And a great tip is to always show genuine interest in the role and the company, and remember to be yourself. So before you go into the interview, you should really know the role that you're applying for through and through. You should know Centrica through and through. A lot of you have interacted with people in person, online. This is now the third session or fourth session, actually, I think, with concerning Centrica. So you should feel really comfortable knowing what the company stands for, their ethos, what they're working towards, all of those things, okay? And remember to be yourself. As much as you want them to hire you, you also have a lot to bring as well, okay? So in action, make sure that you practice delivering, you know, your key achievements in a positive, confident manner, and always make sure that you have a smile on your face as well, okay? Any questions thus far? Okay. It would be great to know if there's any question that people feel like they get caught out on, or, you know, that they're stumbling through, like, oh, I don't quite know how to answer this question, or oh, I don't quite know how to. If there's anything like that that comes up for you in particular, please do share that in the chat. Okay. Or if you, or this might just even be your first ever proper interview, and you're like, I don't know how to navigate this, you know? So again, share how you feel. If this is for someone who is just hearing about Centrica for the first time, okay, so if you're hearing about Centrica for the first time, then I don't know if it's possible for you to apply right now for their internship or for their grad scheme tonight, but you could take on board, obviously, all of the advice that we're sharing and use it for another grad scheme, okay? Right, Farhan, I was wondering, for behavioral questions, we're always told about the STAR technique, but how many sentences would you recommend in total? Because answers can run too short or long. So don't worry, I'm going to cover that shortly, but thank you very much for that question. I'm going to tell you exactly how to time it, okay? Right, so tell me about yourself is one of the most crucial questions that you get asked in every single interview, okay? We don't just want to run through our CV when they say, tell me about yourself. What we want to do is actually create what is called a career story. And why does this matter? This question sets the tone for your interview and establishes your career story. It's going to provide you with the opportunity to connect with the people that are sitting across from you, and also connect all of your past experiences and where it is that you're trying to get to, which is for them to hire you, okay? So you're going to give these hiring managers an insight into you and how you communicate and how confident you are, and how best you are for this role. That's the whole point of this question. So what hiring managers want to hear? They want to hear a clear and concise and relevant overview of your career thus far. They want you to emphasize on achievement. So we're not just saying what we did, but what we actually achieved. And the format for that, and what I would love for you all to write down, is this format. So what I did, then the impact of what I did, including a metric, and last but not least, how I did it. That's how you're always going to communicate in an achievement. You're always going to communicate it that way. Every single achievement. What I did, the impact of what I did with a metric, and how I did it. So for example, led a charity event raising £5,000 for children with SEN needs. And then how I did it was able to do this by, or did it by conducting workshops, doing research, gathering data, putting together an event, so on and so forth, just kind of explaining the bits and bobs of what you did. And the reason why you are going to articulate your achievements in this particular format is because it shows them you know exactly what you did beforehand, and you know how to replicate that success with them in their company. Okay, right. So 3-part to craft the perfect tell me about yourself. So here's how you would structure it. So structure your response like a story. So you would talk about 3 different phases in your life. So your current role or what you're doing at the moment. So whether you're working or you're in university, okay, your career path. So during my career, during my time at university, and then your future goals, which is obviously you want to land yourself within Centrica, within the organization that you're applying for. Okay, that's how you follow it. So current, your career path, so your past, and then your future. That's how you structure tell me about yourself. So for example, I'm currently an XYZ where I manage, lead, strategize, whatever it is, XYZ, XYZ, and optimize XYZ. So XYZ stands for skills or an experience of what it is that you've done. Recently, I led this project that produced whatever results. And this would be a great time for, if anybody has an experience that they would love to share, I can help you to craft the tell me about yourself, okay, based off of something that anyone wants to share. So if anyone wants to be able to have the perfect tell me about yourself, just type in the chat a little bit about what you're doing at the moment. So are you in university? What are you studying? Are you working? What have you done beforehand, and what type of internship or grad program are you applying for? And then I can help you to structure that. So whoever wants to just pop that in the chat, this will be a great way for you to take a tailored tell me about yourself and start implementing that in your interviews. Okay. So in the meantime, whilst someone starts typing away, career path. So, at the example here where you're sharing your career journey, throughout my career or my time at university, I've developed strong skills in X, Y, and Z. For example, I've collaborated with this team or this department or this organization, improving whatever by X amount. Okay. And then the last part is to talk about your future goals. So show enthusiasm for the role and how it aligns with your aspirations, your future aspirations, where you see yourself for your career. So I'm really excited to transition into XYZ, so whichever department, where I can leverage my this skill, this skill, this skill to deliver impactful projects in whichever department, okay? And thank you so much, Demi. So for example, how do I make my retail or non-industry experience relevant in interview answers as a recent graduate presently? Okay, I'm going to come back onto that one in a moment, but I do want to answer Mary's question. So Mary, you shared that presently in my second year studying computer science in uni, works part-time with my university's career team, amazing, looking into getting into tech, software engineering internships. Do I still need any other thing? No, we can work with that, Mary. I really appreciate it. So thank you so much for sharing that. So in the beginning, you would share what you do currently, which is, you are working with, because you actually have some work experience, because you're with the careers team, I would start there. I would say currently working in my university's career team and talk about a couple of things that you do. So within the career team, do you review people's CVs? Do you run workshops? Do you, a couple of the things that you do, and something that you've recently been working on? I led a workshop, I led a campaign, whatever it is that you do to help students, for example, that would be how you would start that. And then throughout my time at university, I've developed this skill, that skill, and that skill. And we're going to tie that into getting into tech software engineering. So obviously within tech and software engineering, they're going to be looking for your analytical skills. So talk about how you use data, okay? How you use data in order to help you at university and within your current role within the careers department as well, okay? What some of the software that you use at the moment. So there might be some specific tech software that you use that is really helpful within the space that you're moving into as well. Just kind of mention them, and any key results that you have achieved since being at university and or within your careers role as well. So were there a number of students that you've helped to land roles? Is there a number of workshops that you've delivered? Is there positive feedback that you've received? We really want to make ourselves shine. And then lastly, you're going to talk about, I'm excited to transition into the software engineering department, where I'm going to leverage my data analytics skills. I'm going to leverage my technical skills. So talk about some of the technical things that you're doing or that you're using currently within your role or at university, and then something else, and that summarizes your story. Okay, you've told them what you're doing currently, you've told them about your journey and where it is that you're trying to get to, which is them to hire you. Okay. D, is there no need to summarize ourselves before getting into the current role? I don't understand what you mean. Is there no need to summarize ourselves? By you doing this, you are summarizing yourself, but you're summarizing it in a way where it's applicable to them. Okay, so you could sit there and say, oh, do you know what, I'm this years old and I really enjoy doing this and this hobby, but respectfully, they don't care. They want to hire somebody that knows the strengths that they have, the achievements that they have, who knows what they've done beforehand and how they're going to be an asset to the team. Now, I know on this program you're going to be learning, but they still want to hire people who know and can articulate their achievements. So this is how you do it. So this is how you talk about yourself, Dee, and you're most welcome, Mary. Okay. Going back to what was said beforehand. So for example, how do I make my retail or non-industry experience relevant in interview answers as a recent graduate? I need you to first and foremost understand that any experience is valuable. It doesn't matter. You don't need to have the direct experience of where it is that you're going to. What you do need to do is understand that in any working environment, okay, you're welcome, Dee, that in any working environment, there's lots of different skills that you're picking up. So for example, in retail, what are things that you do? You work directly with customers, okay? So you deal with problem solving, right? So I would be taking my experience and putting it as a competency under problem solving, okay? You deal with data day in, day out. I would be putting that under, data and analytical thinking. That's something else that comes with my retail experience. What else do I do within retail? You might, depending on your role, if you're a cashier, you're dealing with numbers. You have to cash up at the end of the night. There are different ways in which your skills are 1000% transferable into where it is that you want to get into. So don't discount your retail experience. And again, happy for anyone to talk about any particular part of retail and help you to reword that and package that for an interview question. So happy to do that if you want to give me a specific example. Okay. Right. So we've already covered tell me about yourself and telling your career story. So most questions are going to be either competency-based or strength-based questions. And the difference between the two of them is competency-based is when you articulate your answer. So when they ask you a question, tell me about a time when you worked with a difficult colleague. They expect you to answer the question using a past experience of yours. The reason why strength-based questions are also introduced, especially for grad schemes and internships, is because they know that not everybody has direct experience. So you kind of give an example of what you would do instead. But for competency-based, you are giving an example of something that you did beforehand. And again, it would be great if somebody else in the chat, so just as Mary gave her experience, if anyone can share what they're doing at university or within their career or role, so then I can break down for you, situation, task, action, and result. And what I would love for you to share in the chat is just an example of what you do day to day, maybe in uni, maybe a project that you led, something that you're working on at work, and then I can break this down for you, situation, task, action, and result, so that you actually get in, examples that you can use straight away, okay? So that would be the best thing. If anyone can pop in the chat what you're doing in uni, what you're doing in your current role. So then you've got some examples that you can use ASAP. Right. And whilst somebody starts to write the answer to that in the chat, I just want to talk about handling a lack of direct experience. So if you're sitting here and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have any experience at all that I can lean on, or I don't have direct experience, here is how you would combat that. So if you don't have direct experience, you're going to focus on your growth potential and your soft skills. We all have those. We all have soft skills in how we communicate with each other, our collaboration with each other, how quickly and agile we are in terms of learning something. So we would focus a lot on the soft skills that we have. And we have...
Just keep home.
Rooney? Okay, right. If anyone's got any questions, if you could pop them on the chat. And Rooney, if I could ask you to put yourself on mute, please. Okay. Right, I lost my train of thought there. So you've got lots of soft skills already that you are developing just by being in university. Okay, so you could, when answering a question, you could say, whilst I haven't formally held whatever job title, I have done something else. So if you're being asked a question about a particular thing and you're like, what, I genuinely don't have experience in this particular sector, but something that's adjacent or something that's similar or something else that's going to be of value, you could say, I don't have experience, for example, using Mary. If Mary is applying for the software engineering internship or grad scheme, and she doesn't have any experience actually using particular software that they're talking about, but maybe she's used another software or she's really good at learning something quickly, then that's what you would be talking about instead. So whilst I don't have experience with this particular software, I don't know, say for example, they use Salesforce. I haven't used Salesforce, but I know that Salesforce is a customer relationship management software. And I actually have direct experience with managing in-person customer relationships. And this is how we did it. Or instead of using a sophisticated software, what we did instead was use Excel. You want to show, I don't have this, but instead I have that. Okay, so we have someone who's just popped in the chat. As a teacher, I'm currently helping a group of students to understand the use of Canva to make simple designs. Okay, great. So if I go back here, so a question that they might, I'm just trying to think of a question that they might ask you. Okay, we've got another one. So Rooney's added another one. So I'm a recent graduate in mathematics and statistics, wanting to break into technology. I currently work as a beauty advisor and last year worked as a mathematics and computer science teaching assistant, helping students complete Python courseworks. and understanding students with SEN needs. I'm currently learning JavaScript through a bootcamp to learn more about programming languages. I'm learning how to adapt these skills to the company I apply for and showing that I am the best fit. So Rooney, thank you so much for such a detailed, breakdown of what it is that you're doing at the moment. And I'm going to start off with you, Rooney, first, and then I'll go to the one that is teaching based. Okay, so Rooney, if I was to ask you, in an interview setting, or the interviewer asks you, could you tell me about a time when you had to collaborate with, or actually, no, let me use another example. Could you tell me about a time when you got a member of your team to complete a task that they didn't want to do or that they were resistant towards? That's an example, all right? So within that question, what they're looking for is your competency around being able to influence other people and your leadership skills, okay? So I'm going to use Rini as an example. So the situation, if I want to set the scene, I could say that in one of my recent roles, I was a science teaching assistant. And in that role, I was helping, I helped my students, especially some of them with SEN needs. I had a particular student who didn't want to focus on the task that was at hand within the session. But there was an assessment deadline. Okay, let's just say, for example, so the task, I needed to get student X to complete the assessment within the amount of time. So the action that I took, because I've previously worked with this student, I used, I used a reward system. I said that if they focus on completing this assessment within this amount of time, they were going to get this reward. So say, for example, they would get some additional time at lunchtime to run around, or they would get to play with a particular game or do something like that. And as a result of that reward that they knew that they were going to get, they actually, got on with the activity. And the result was the student finished the assessment in the amount of time. They did really well with the assessment and got better than expected. And, I was commended by the main teacher for putting this strategy in place. All right, so that's an example of something that you could talk about going through situation, task, action, and result. Okay. Yes, please do. So say situation was, task was, action was, result was. So just to reiterate Rooney's question, she said, can I state what each of the parts of that is? And yes, I'm going to tell you every single time, state what the situation is, say the task was, the action was, and the result was. I didn't, you're most welcome, Rooney. Okay. So, so if I go to the teacher example, which maybe Rooney's example might have helped you. I'm not sure because you come up as iPhone, but Rooney's example might have actually helped you as well, because you're a teacher. So again, helping a small group of students to understand the use of Canva and make simple designs. So again, you probably have students that are struggling with particular things. So again, they might ask you a question, how do you motivate other people to do, work? How do you work to tight deadlines? Actually, let's use that one as an example. So tell us about a time when you had to work to a tight deadline and what was the outcome of this. So they want to see your time management, okay, and how you work under pressure. Okay, so using your example of where you're teaching students how to make simple designs on Canva, the situation is I currently work as a teacher, and I work with a small group of students, and I teach them how to create designs on Canva. Okay, and the task was that these students had to make a particular design for a poster or for an event. And, we had a very tight turnaround in order to be able to do that. So we had 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever that was. Okay. So the action I took was there were a couple of students in my set who pick up designs really quickly. So what I did was, in the session that I had, I spent some time explaining to those really gifted students, this is the design that I want for you to do. I want you to work on these, but I also want you to be partnered with somebody else. And so we partnered them up with somebody who struggles with doing designs, basically. So you partnered your stronger ones with your weaker ones. And as a result of that, you know, they were able to collaborate. The stronger ones were able to teach the ones that were struggling. And we were able to have a great, you know, we were able to deliver on time and that was the result. Basically, we were able to deliver within the 48 hours or 72 hours. And the event hosts were really happy with the designs that we made and wanted for us to work with them again. Okay. Right. So Baba Jude has asked, could you please give a finance story for one who is a finance assistant? So can you help me by giving me a finance example, and then I will craft it just as Rennie did and the other teaching example, then I can give you some feedback. So as you're typing that, what I'm going to do is move on to, or just kind of wrap up here. Handling direct experience, okay, or lack of direct experience. So highlight your adaptability, your problem solving, and your leadership skills. And a key tip is for you to showcase how quickly you learn and adapt to new environments, okay? Yeah, and prepare a statement that reframes any lack of direct experience. So whenever they say, you know, have you done this, and you haven't done it, you can, you know, talk about something else that you've done that's quite similar. Okay. I've also seen recently they want to see a star+R format. Could you break that down, please? Is linking to their values. What is the additional R that they're referring to? Could you tell me what that additional R is, please? Okay. Right. Right, I want to talk about some strength-based questions. Smit has just put this in there. I completed my master's. Okay, Smit, I'm going to come back to you. What I'm going to do is just summarize, just wrap up my PowerPoint, and then I'll come back onto some more examples that you've put in the chat. Okay, so strength-based questions is also another type of questioning that is quite popular, especially because not everybody has reflection. Okay, no, so reflection. Yeah, that's fine. I'll come on to that. So what they want to do is just find out how you would do something. So this is another format that you can follow. So just with competency-based questions, it's STAR, situation, task, action, and result. How you can answer strength-based questions so that you don't give a generic answer is PEAR, so pair, so passion. So you're going to show genuine enthusiasm, explain what energizes or interests you and why. So you can start off your sentence with, I really enjoy because. An example, so ground your answer in evidence. So give a real life instance that illustrates that strength in action. So for example, during my final year project. Action, show how you embody that strength. So describe what you did, how you approached it, or the habits that make you effective. So I approach this by, or I'm somebody who tends to. And lastly, the reflection, link it to performance and fit. So reflect on the impact, what you learned, and how it relates to the role. So it made me realize that, or the strength will help me in this role because, okay? And I'm going to give you an example before I go back to Smit's example that he's given me and how to pad that out for a competency-based question. So what energizes you? So P, passion, I'm energized by solving problems that have a tangible impact, particularly when I can collaborate with others. For example, or for instance, during a university business challenge, my team had to develop a sustainable marketing strategy for a local company. Action, I took the lead in analysing customer data and identifying key insights that shaped our proposal. I enjoyed bouncing ideas off others and seeing how our thinking developed. And reflection, it reinforced that I'm motivated by purposeful teamwork and practical problem solving, exactly what attracts me to consulting roles like this one. Okay. So that's one example. Now I'm going to go into the chat. So we've got Smith, we've got this one. I have just graduated. Boom. Okay. Right, okay, we've got a couple of these. Okay, let me see how many I can do in this time. Right, so Smith, I recently completed my master's degree in international business from Ulster University, Birmingham branch. I'm looking for a role which includes financial services in the stock market. I have experience in the same field as a financial advisor, amazing, in India for a year. So I know how to deal with clients and what they look for. I came to the UK to get knowledge on the same as in my practical studies. I also made research on financial planning in Taj Hotel, India, where I did deep research on what profit was made in the hotel in the year 2023 to 2024, which really helped me. Currently, I am working as a cashier in an off-license store, and I've gained knowledge of customer service and how to satisfy their needs. I have also worked as a warehouse operative in Amazon, where I learned physical knowledge of moving products from one place to another. Also, I have worked as a care assistant. You have done a lot of work, okay? Smith, it would be amazing to see your CV, all right? What are you asking me specifically? Are you asking me to help you to structure your star? So just pop in the chat what you're asking me to help you with, or is there a concern that you have that you've got all of this different experience and how to connect it? All right, so let me know in the chat what you're asking me there. Reflection. So reflection. So Rooney, in your example where what did we talk about again? So around helping students, you need to talk about what you learned from that. So so if I use the Canva example, you could say that you learn that by pairing somebody who is stronger with somebody who's struggling. What happens is you get to teach the person that's struggling how to work in a team and how to learn from somebody who's more experienced. And equally, you strengthen that person that's really good at doing something, because now they get to teach that as well. So they're not missing out, because what they're doing is they're doing and they're also teaching at the same time. So they're really strengthening themselves in their skill set. So you're gonna take away what was the key learning that I found out from this particular experience or situation I found myself in. Okay. So Smith, yeah, I have too much experience. There's no such thing as too much experience, okay? And now I am very confused how to link each and everything to give a perfect answer to the interviewer. So, you were looking for financial services experiences, okay? So in all of your past experiences, you're going to focus on the key skills that is required for financial services experience, okay? So within financial services experiences, you need to be great with your stakeholder management. That is number one, okay? Stakeholder management and your end users or your customers. So in all of your examples, you're going to talk about how great you were with stakeholders, how great you were with your with any end users or customers that you've been working with as well. Okay, in financial services, risk management is also a very, very big thing. So any risks that you've mitigated. Okay, so those are a couple of them as well. 3. In financial services as well, it doesn't hurt to talk about any project management experience that you have as well. So those are 4 examples of skills that you can be highlighting or emphasizing on in your experience. Okay, it's about the story that you're crafting and align it to the skills that they're asking for, but do not demonize any of your work experience, because it's all great. You just need to focus that work experience on the skills that they're looking for within financial services. Okay. Right, so I'm gonna right, what's the other one? Let's have a look. Okay, so this is on Aduja. I have just graduated from university where I studied business analytics, and I am a student ambassador. Well done. I support events like Welcome Week. I help with organizations and work with other ambassadors to facilitate activities. I also engage with recruiters and prospective students to promote the university. Previously, I was a client support and operations analyst intern at an insurance company, and I worked alongside the account manager where I assisted with the reconciliation and took minutes during client and internal meetings. So again, you've got lots and lots of experience, but what is it that you are applying for? I don't think you shared what that was. So tell me what you're applying for, and then I can tell you the skills that you need to be focusing on when you're articulating your experience, okay? It's okay if you have lots of experience. It's just about focusing on how those different experiences align with where it is that you're trying to get to. Okay. Right, Babajide, I happen to answer inquiries about pension payment situation. I happened to get a complaint where a pensioner did not get their payment task. I had to look at the cause and notice a document was missing. I explained to the pensioner what was missing and why. Actually, I took the pensioner, I told the pensioner what was needed and I could help make the payment faster, giving a stipulated time. I was able to solve the pensioner. I was able to solve, and the pensioner thanked me. That's great. That one thing I would tell you to strengthen it is to add in a metric. So you said, I told the pensioner what was needed and I could help make the payment faster. By you helping make the payment faster, how much faster was it? Was it like, did you save them 20% of time, 50% of time, instead of them faffing around and having to figure out everything on their own? How did you help them? So that shows like your customer success rate as well. Okay. But that's a really good answer in terms of your star format. So well done. Right. We've got a couple of minutes. So we've got Manisha here. We've got a couple of them. So I've applied for business management graduate role. So that was Anaduja. Right. Sam and Smith, you've asked another question. All right, I'm going to go to Anaduja first. So you said that you're applying for business management graduate roles, which is amazing because you have lots of this experience working with different, where you're this ambassador for the university. You worked in insurance as well. So the key skills for business management are going to be leadership, business acumen. So in your ambassador role for your university, you are aware of the organization and how that works. Okay, that's a really key skill that you already have in your ambassador role. You can translate that when you're applying for your business management roles. In your role as an ambassador, you're a leader as well. You can talk about and translate that when you're talking about applying for your business management roles as well. So look at the key skills that they are asking you for within business management on job descriptions or in the grad scheme that you're applying for, and see where you have those skills in your prior experience and focus on articulating those skills through your experience. Okay. Right. How can I, there's a question. So Demi, there's a question around the business management grad role not being open for Centrica. I'm not quite sure if that's something that you can then pick up offline. I'm not sure, Farhan, about why the business management grad role at Centrica isn't open yet. Okay. Right. I think Anu, you will be the last person. So I am currently a final year chemical engineering student and retail experience. You've got retail experience as well as collaborative experience from group projects and leadership in a university society. I aim to land a role in chemical engineering and apply my technical skills, coding knowledge and collaborative work in a graduate role. I tend to struggle forming reflections and results that are impactful and relevant in star statements. Could you assist with this, please? So it's the results. Now, you're a chemist, so why are we struggling with numbers? All the results is basically you talking about, this was the impact of what happened, all right? So I'm trying to think of an example. It's been a while since I've done chemistry. But if there was a particular topic or maybe there was a particular assignment that you had or a particular experiment that you were doing, and just maybe talking them through the process of that. Or you can talk about your retail experience as well. So as well as collaborative group and leadership and no, sorry, you don't have retail experience. You said that you work within the leadership space in your university society. So what are some of the things that you do within the university society? I'm sure you lead certain projects, that you oversee the runnings of certain things within your university. What was an issue that maybe came up and you were able to solve that issue? That's what you should be asking yourself beforehand. There was an event that was required, but maybe there was a clashing of dates regarding the event. How did you solve that problem? How you solved the problem, that's the result. As a result of that problem, we were able to get to reschedule the different events. Both of them were able to be put on, and we were able to engage with the public or with the students and made the student unions happy and all the things. So the result is, what is the outcome of what you did and how that benefited people? That's what you need to be focusing on in your results. Okay. Right, you're most welcome. So we've only got a couple of minutes left. I'm going to wrap up. I know that it got really active towards the end. I hope that it was beneficial for you, this session. Please do leave feedback in your Discord as well, because I think quite a few of you have come from the Discord or from the newsletter. So contact Beyond Education to just give some feedback about how this was beneficial, or you can put some feedback at the bottom of this chat as well. Okay, thank you. You're most welcome. This was really helpful. Thank you so much, Farhan and Aduja as well, for your feedback. I just want to summarize on here. Wanted to mention about interview. Yep, you can leave interview feedback on the Luma link as well. You're most welcome. Thank you very much. So I just want to say as well, in regards to handling interview nerves, and this is going to be the last thing that I touch on, that interviews are a conversation. The reason why so many people struggle with interviews and get really, really nervous is because it's like, oh my gosh, there's so much riding on this. This is a conversation between you and somebody else, where you decide whether this internship is going to be for you, and they decide whether you're going to be the right person for this internship or grad scheme. And a decision is going to be made at the end of that conversation. So you go into that conversation, you have conversations with people all day, every day, at university, at your work, with your friends, with your family. This is another conversation. The better prepared you are for this conversation, the better it's going to be for you when you go in there. But I need you to remember that this is a conversation, and the purpose of this conversation is for you to go in and just talk about how amazing you are, but you're not just pulling it out of anywhere, you're backing it up with evidence, which is why you're going to have these different answers pre-written already, your star examples pre-written, you could have some strength-based ones pre-written, and you're going to make sure that you're always talking about the skills and the experience that they are looking for in their sector, in their department, because that's all they really care about, okay? And at the end of it, there's going to be a decision made. And it's okay if you don't get it perfect. Interview practice comes with the more interviews that you do, but it's a conversation, okay? Right, so you can connect with me here. I'm Alexandra Aileru on all platforms, okay? And obviously you can contact Confident Career Switch for direct support as well. And looking forward to hearing how you progress with your interviews with Centrica. So take care and have an amazing night, and I shall hopefully hear from you soon.